Hello everyone, welcome back to Wonderland Asylum. Today we are back with issue 9 of the Hachette Partworks release of Titanic, the ship, the legend. Now, before I go any further, I do have a small statement to make. I understand I've been quite negative over particularly the last couple of issues. Now, I've possibly been a little unfair. Now, I'm obviously disappointed that we were supposed to be moving on to weekly after issue 8, and that's no longer happening, although it does say on the website it will be going weekly after issue 8. We're now told that will be issue 10. And I've also been disappointed with a couple of bits and pieces with the model that I've already been over. I'm not going to go back over them again. To clarify, I'm a massive Titanic nerd, right? I love the Titanic, I know a lot about the ship, I've studied it since I was a child, right? I love ships, always have, and the minute I saw Bismarck, I thought, I wish they would make a Titanic the same. So when they did, I was absolutely delighted, couldn't wait to subscribe, everything. So yeah, I maybe set myself up for a fail, perhaps, but it's not that bad. See, if you decided, I quite fancy building that, and you built it exactly as it comes from Hachette Partworks, you don't paint anything, you don't buy any of the additional mods, you don't do anything to it, you just have it as the ship that comes, 99% of people will look at it and go, wow, that's a fantastic model of the Titanic. Because at the end of the day, it is very detailed, it is very big, and it does look like the Titanic. It's just for people like me who are a bit, what's the word? Fussy. My family call it wrong bayonet syndrome, which is members of my family could watch a World War I film or a Napoleonic War film, and out of all the action, the thing they would pick up on is the bayonets that they've got attached to the muskets were actually not manufactured until 10 years after this scene took place. So yeah, I have inherited that. It's the same with Bismarck. I noticed bits in Bismarck, but because the majority of it is so good, it doesn't bother me. I'm sure this will pick up, the pace will pick up. So yeah, I have made aware of issues that I have with the model, and I will continue to do so. I will continue to raise any issues that I see that come up, but I will also state it is a fantastic model thus far, and I am looking forward to continuing it. I just thought I'd better put that out there before we continue, because I am aware I have been very negative over the past couple of videos in particular. But without further ado, we will continue with the video as normal. So looking at the magazine, we have an article, A Floating Hotel. Titanic, where the White Star Line wanted to make Titanic the most luxurious ship in the world, equivalent in comfort to the best hotels. So yep, it kind of gives you a little sort of cross-section of what was in it. Again, more details in the decking, a couple of fixtures, facts and figures, some reference photos there as well, which is very good. I'm not sure if this contains any kind of internal sections, any of the internal rooms, but I do know that you can buy them separately should you wish to include them. An artist impression of the boat deck. Again, some movies that were set around Titanic. The Turkish bath and everything, and what the attraction of the Turkish culture was. And then, of course, we have the instructions. I don't think there's anything too complicated to do in this issue, but what we are doing is putting everything that we already have together. So, without further ado, let's have a look at the parts. Okay, so once again, we have our brown cardboard box. To say, I miss the days where they came in clear plastic boxes and we could see everything inside. For example, this is one of the later stages of Bismarck, and it's still in that nice plastic container so you can see everything, but no. These days it's brown cardboard. So we have another of the white top sections. This side it's for the starboard side of the hull. I don't think there's that much more in this issue, to be honest with you. It is primarily just putting stuff that we already had together. So, yep, nothing else in the box. You can see there, straight through. And wrapped in here, we have another hull joining piece. We have our GM screws, which I don't believe we actually use in this issue. I believe we need to keep these safe. And we have our AM screws that we do use in this issue. In this bag, which I'm going to keep because we need to keep some bits, we have these rods, which are basically spacers which will fit in between the two bow sections to make sure they're spaced properly, make sure there's nothing in these bits and get rid of them. And we also have some additional cleats. Now these are the wrong colour as well. They should be black. But we're not using them at this stage. I believe they will cover the screws that affix the forecastle deck, or the forecastle deck, whichever way you want to pronounce it, to these sections here. So I'll show you what I mean once we're done with this issue, but they will cover up the screw holes in the forecastle deck eventually. But again, I will paint these before we do so. Okay, so these are the parts we have in this one, and as I say, the GM screws get kept aside as well. They're not used in this issue either. So we have the spacers, we have the connecting plate, we have our screws, and we have our hull piece. What else do we need? Well, we need the sections we've already been working on. So I will bring those over, and I'll be back in just a second. So here we have the two sections of the hull that we're going to be joining together. Now, to begin with, we don't need this side, so it can be placed safely for the moment. We are working on this side, and the first thing we're doing is attaching this connecting plate on here. Now, it is a tight fit. I was made aware of that by other people who are building this. So it does go with a flat piece to the bottom, because those holes there are what the underside plate that's coming in issue 10, quick spoiler, will attach to. So there are 4 AM screws which go in just here. Sorry, I said 4, I should have said 5, my apologies. Now again, these I'm told are quite a tight fit. That one's not too bad actually. No, not too bad at all. I think as long as you've got a screwdriver that fits well, you should be okay. Next one goes in here, just like that. So to say, this is a fantastic screwdriver I've got. Got it off of Amazon. The exact kit I purchased isn't available, but if you search for precision screwdriver set, it's one of the first ones that comes up. Is very similar to this one. I don't think it's the exact one that I've got, but it is very, very similar. Someone had asked about it previously in the comments. There we go. And the final one goes in just here. So again, this is the piece that we will join the next hull section to, as you can see just there. Fantastic. So next we're going to be fitting the white section to the top piece of this hull. So if you just give me 2 moments, I'll get the bits ready and we'll be back in just a sec. Okay, so next we're taking this section again. Now this bit doesn't have a plastic joining piece the way the port side did, which I will comment, I do find bizarre that the 2 sides of the hull have been built so differently. This side is 2 separate pieces and the brackets are already attached, whereas if I bring over the port side, It's 1, 2, 3, 4 different pieces. The nameplate isn't attached. There are all these plastic bits on the other side, and that attaches on to a separate plate that was screwed in. This is so much simpler. Why not just do both sides the way you did this one? But and it also means that there's a weight imbalance. This is a lot heavier than this, but hey ho. I didn't design it, but there we are. Just another observation, not a complaint. So, as we say, this is the side that we're working on, and it just sits on there like that. And it's just 2 AM screws going in there and there. I've already got one on my screwdriver. Again, I will tighten it fully in just a moment. And that should leave us with 4 to screw the hull together, plus the spare one, which I never bring out the bag. Go, and that's the final screw going in there like that. I'll tighten this one down completely. There we go. And that'll let me just tighten this one up. Okay. Now, before I go any further, that's what that looks like. Again, no yellow pinstripe, or orange or gold, or whichever you want to call it. It's a kind of yellowy orange. In the last issue, I mentioned that there was a bit of a gap on there. I did, in the end, take that plastic piece off and sort of manipulate it a bit, and that has kind of closed the gap up a little. Not completely, but it's now not visible. So I was able to fix that gap. Okay, so now the next part we're doing is we're going to actually be putting the 2 hull pieces together. So we have our 2 spacers, they're calling them here. The first one goes into, I believe, this hole here, just at the front, and the second one goes into this hole here, just slightly further back. Now, you may be looking as I was, where are the receptor holes on this side of the hull? Well, there aren't any. It just kind of pushes up against it. I would have expected there to be a hole. It's like, the best way I can describe it is, it's like these 2 sections were designed by 2 separate teams. The people who designed this side went, right, let's make it simple. 2 sections, screw the white piece on the top, put the 2 spacers in, put 1 bracket there. Fantastic. People who designed this section went, right, we'll break it into as many little jigsaw pieces as we can. We'll use as much plastic as is humanly possible. Nothing will fit properly, and we won't bother building receptors for the spacers to go into. I don't understand, but there we go. And also, the screws go in from this side, so the minute I turn this over, these spacers are going to fall out. I don't get it. But anyway, so now, obviously this circular section there has to line up with the front of the other side. So I'll try and line it all up before I push it together, so that all the screw holes line up, and hopefully the spacers will stay in. Looks good to me, but the proof, as they say, will be in the pudding. So let's get that first screw in. They're not the longest of screws, so it's not difficult to get them in, and that went in fine. So as I say, I think when I did watch someone else's build video, the channel's Mark's Mods. I find his videos very good. He explains a lot of the problems that he has putting them together. There we go. And that's looking just like that. Actually, there isn't much of a gap on mine. He had quite a big gap at the front. And I think it's just your luck of the draw as much as anything. When it comes to how your parts have been handled when they've been delivered, etc. But yeah, very strange. To say, I was prepared for this not to fit very well, but This seems to be going together not too badly. See, it's hard to get the purchase that you need because the hull is very slippery. There's not a lot of grip for me to put my fingers on, but there we go. And screw this bit in as well. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the front of the Titanic. Okay, it looks good. So obviously the forecastle deck will sit on top there and it will screw down into these sections. Now, we're screwing it in with these screws, we're covering the screw holes with these cleats, and we already have the deck sitting there. Why can I not just do it? But yeah, so yeah, that's what she's looking like just now, and that is everything there is to do in this stage. Now, it may have been a short one, but it's a very, very satisfying one because that is now starting to take shape. Heavy old beast already, I might add. But yeah, the spacers do sit, but yeah, they could have been designed a bit better. They could have rounded off the edges, but hey ho, it works. It sits together. It seems to hold itself together pretty well. There is a slight gap, but again, that will be pulled in when you screw further hull sections together, so I'm not overly concerned about that. But yeah, that's what she's looking like just now. So, thank you everyone. That was issue 9 of Hachette Partworks Titanic, the Ship, the Legend. Issue 10, what we've got coming, is the bottom hull section that I showed you just a moment ago. It fits in between the two bow pieces. We have some cylinder head covers for the engines, another couple of engine pieces, and some more screws. So it looks like we're going to be adding some more finishing touches to that engine section and adding the final piece to the prow of the ship. Now, hopefully, we'll also be using these pieces that we had to keep aside, the cleats and the GM screws, to attach the forecastle deck, but I'm impatient. That's what it looks like just now. All my moaning, all my complaining, yeah, I'm completely sold. That is just incredible. It just looks fantastic. Obviously there will be covers to go over the screw holes there, and that is, as I said, the Mr. Fusion Designs loading hatch. Again, tell me whether I should paint it or whether I should just leave it as it is, because I think that looks quite good with the breakwaters there. I might add a little bit of black detail into it, but other than that, I may just leave it white. So yeah, what we also have is this front stand section that goes along there like that, and it sits reasonably well. I may not leave it sitting in that stand because where I have her sitting just now is on top of my bearded dragon's tank, and she's quite boisterous sometimes, so one wee knock could send the whole thing collapsing, and I'm really, really not up for that. But yeah, she is taking shape, slowly, but she is taking shape. As I say, issue 10 will be adding a bit more beyond that, who knows. I think issue either 11 or 12, we're starting work on the first funnel. So, if you enjoyed this video, please remember to leave me a like, to comment, and of course to subscribe if you like what you're seeing, because I will be continuing this build, hopefully to conclusion. Yeah, but yeah, again, I'm absolutely delighted with how that looks just now. I mean, as I say, the changes that I've made without tooting my own horn too much, I think make a big difference to how the forecastle deck looks. But yeah, that is, it's just fantastic. Really impressed with it, really enjoying how it's going, and I hope you'll all stick with me. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and I will see you again for issue 10. Thank you.